property of M. Khan and were obtained from Google image search. The material is being used for education purpose only, and M. Khan does not claim ownership and rights to this material, and that will not be printed or copied in the handouts. So if we think about the community-based rehabilitation, so actually it's a shift from institutionalized approach, because initially immediately after the Second World War, when there were a lot of injuries, and they were sending people home actually, because before that, when somebody have an injury or a disease, or they need a rehabilitation, they used to go to in a hospital or any place which will provide the institutionalized approach for rehabilitation. So what would happen, they would admit the patient, and then they would rehab them for so long, and then they would send them home. But then after the Second World War, when they have too many injuries and there weren't many places to keep these soldiers up, and there were also people who were having diseases and they needed the rehabilitation, so they could not cope with that, and then they started this idea that they will send people home and rehab them at their communities rather than in the hospitals. So in our previous lectures, we were about disease rehabilitation, and we have discussed all that, and I'm sure my other colleagues will be doing about the rehabilitation of the different diseases like arthritis or stroke, so we will be covering that. But this lecture is about how and what factors will be there in the community rehabilitation that will affect the patient rehab. And actually there is a lot of evidence around that community-based rehabilitation provides a familiar environment for the client, and people progress better in their rehab at their communities and their home rather than in the hospital. So a lot of research has been done on that one as well. So actually it's a combined approach, and it's all for the patient benefit, and it's a multi-dimensional work just approach in the community. So we'll discuss that in a little detail about that. So the objectives of this lecture will be, by the end, the students should be able to discuss the environmental factors in community-based rehabilitation, and describe the dimensions of community-based rehabilitation, and explain the implementation process of the community-based rehabilitation in the community. So first of all, we need to understand what the participation is, because if somebody will go to the community, they will need to participate in certain activities. So the community participation is defined as a person involvement in a life situation, and that's a definition being given by the WHO's International Classification of Function, Disability and Health, that's also called ISF. So it's actually, they call it as a life situation, because anybody will be performing in the community, they will be involved in a various situation in their life. And what life situation is, it's the concept of people define roles in the communities, that's such as normally they will go to their work, so they will be doing the employment, and they will be seeking and securing. So if somebody is unemployed, they will look for the work, so they will look at the newspapers and the advertisement to find a job and securing a job. And also they will be securing an education. So first they secure an education, like the MBBS student will do an MBBS degree, and the physical therapist will do a physical therapy degree, and they will be looking for employment because that's normal for them. So that's how it works. And in the community, actually, in a situation, people usually manage their household. So they go for the shopping and they do their home budget, and it's normal activity. And even when you come to the college, you sort of have certain money in the pocket, and then you spend it here and there. So that's also, so in the same way, in a life situation, people will manage their household, and being a care provider. So they will be providing a care for the people around themselves, their parents, the elderly grandfather, and the children, or in the community. So it's basically being a care provider. So that's the different dimension of life situation. That's how people engage in these all situations. And here we will discuss briefly, because I'm sure my other colleagues have talked about that in the introductory lecture, but just to build on that, we will just briefly just introduce what is handicapped actually. So it's a disadvantage for individual that limits or prevents the fulfillment of a role that is normal for that individual. So if somebody can't perform their normal role and they are disadvantaged, so they will be handicapped. So they will not be able to perform their normal role, like go to the work, or maybe like doing washing and dressing, grooming. So it's difficult for them to maintain their normal tasks. And its disability is defined as the restrictions in personal and social role behaviors. So if we look at the next slide, these are some examples we have put in here. So say if somebody have an abnormal physiological function, so they have an impairment, and then that impairment will lead to a disability, and that's also called activity limitation or limitation in activities. And the handicap, then they will be unable to participate in an activity. So participation limitation they will have. So say if somebody have a muscle weakness due to a disease or any other problem or an injury, and maybe they have some brain injury, or so they have loss of balance, some joint stiffness due to various diseases. So they will be unable to walk and perform activities of daily living, because the joint will be stiff. So they will have joint contractures. So we need a full range of movement in our shoulders, our elbows, just to be able to perform daily life activities like washing, dressing, and we need a good balance to be able to walk. So say, and also muscle strength. So say if these are compromised, then this will lead to immobility and dependency on others. So other people will need to come and help them washing and dressing, like they will need to hold them for a walk. So actually they will be handicapped in that way. And say the other example is if somebody have a cognitive impairment, so they will be unable to comprehend, and they will be having learning difficulties as well. And that they say a child with disability, cognitive impairment, will be unable to go to the school because they cannot cope with normal school. So they will need some specialized schooling as well. So they will be excluding from the school. So that's how they will be handicapped. So these three terms, if you think about the physical medicine and rehabilitation module, you will always come across. So when we rehab people, we'll be thinking about all these kind of examples, just to be recalling them again and again. And this is ICF, International Classification of Functional Disability, Health and Disability. And actually it's a health condition. Say somebody have a health condition or a disease, so they will be having difficulty in participation in activities, and same way they will have a difficulty in body functions and structures as well. That will lead to activity limitation, and also the participation will be limited. So a health condition or disorder can also stop them from participating in activity. And if you look at the bottom on the left hand side, it's environmental factors. So we will discuss about the environmental factors in detail. So they will need an appropriate environment to have a proper function in that one. And there are also some personal factors. The personal factor will be their how they react to a certain condition, because some people after the injury will be very demotivated, and you may have seen them, they have tear in their eyes and they are emotionally very impaired. So that kind of behaviors will have the factors will have an impact on their activities as well. So it's a multidimensional. You have a disease, you have the environment, you have their behavior, their personal factors, their response to injuries, and these kind of things. So these all is called ICF. So we need to remember that for designing a rehabilitation program. Now we'll talk about the environment and participation interaction. So as we have discussed, the environment affects people behaviors and health outcomes, and it's believed to be if you have a house where the people live in an area where it's more commercial, so you have shops around, nearby shops around the house, so they believe that you'll be having a higher physical activity, because if you're living nearby, you can, let's say, you can walk to different shops, you can go to the grocery shops, you can go to the market, supermarket, and it's a commercial mix. It's called commercial mix. So the shops and the houses are or if you're living close to a town center, so you rather walk rather than you take a bus. So it's that kind of areas, living in that kind of areas, increase the physical activity. And where you get more residential environments like countryside, and you got more houses and there's no markets nearby, then you have a lower physical activity, because you tend to take your car and you drive, and then it's basically affect your physical activity. So living close by to the shops and around the area, you're more likely to walk around. And like we said, living on the walkable distances increases your physical activity. So if the children's school is very close and the children goes to school and somebody take them to school by walking, then that you're walking, so you're having physical activity. But if you're driving to the school, driving the children to school and back, then you are having less physical activity. And also the street connectivity. So say if the shops are connected with each other, so say there's one shop, and then you go, and so say you go to the post office and you have to go to the supermarket for a shopping, and you also have to go to the then various other places which is nearby and in one block, then it's called street connectivity. So these streets are connected, so you just walk through one street, another street, and you go to bank, and then you just walk around in that market. So that increases your physical activity. So the street connectivity is very important, rather than you have on the highways and then you have to take your car and drive around. Community participation is a complex phenomenon that need appropriate residence. So if you want to participate in the community, you need to be living some very near, like, so you need appropriate residence. So your house should be appropriate, and you also need a good mobility. So even if you have appropriate housing, but your mobility is impaired, then you won't be able to participate in the community. Like, say, if you can't walk, or you have so you need some walking stick, or you need a frame, and you don't have it, then the chances are you will not going to be able to walk. Your mobility will restrict you with the participation in the community. So that's why people who with poor mobilities, after the injuries, if they've been left in home and with the poor mobility, then they suffer and their health goes down the hill all the time. You also need a good social support. So say if somebody have this disease and this problem, but they have a good social support, so say the daughter and the sons coming and helping them, they have other relatives living close by, so they sit with them, have a chat, so that's also stop their depression. So that can have an impact on the participation in the community. So, and also assistive devices. So what assistive devices means that if somebody need a stick or a walking frame, or if somebody you may have seen that wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs or mobility scooters, they go out of that one. So if somebody have a poor mobility but they have access to these assistive devices, so like I said, in the mobility scooter you can sit on it and you can go to the different community centers. So you need that technology if that's available to you. And also you need a better transportation. So even if you have if somebody have poor mobility and they don't have the appropriate transportation. Say if the son is there to drive them to the community center or take them for a shopping or take them for a doctor's appointment, even can't go to a doctor appointment if you don't have a transportation. So you need some transport. Somebody need to be there to help you to get done with your important tasks like doctor appointments, your shopping. And also you need facilities in the community to accommodate disabled people. Like let's say if you're going to a bank or if you're going to a post office, you may have seen that ramps, because especially in our country we don't have many ramps, we don't have many friendly disability needs in the buildings. So like say if you go internationally you will see all these ramps. And also if you go to a car park in a supermarket, there should be disabled parking space with a mark disability on it, so nobody else park a car in there, and then you can just park nearby to the big supermarket, and then you can go inside easily in your wheelchair or whatever. So that's why it's very important, so that facilities need to be available into. So you see, it's a quite complex process, it's not that straightforward. So you need all these components to be able to participate in the community. So it also ranges from social support to your technology, governmental organizations, appropriate residence, your good health. That's all will have a problem for you to be participate in the community. And then according to these problems, you identify these problems, and if somebody having a transport issue and all the other factors are quite well, then you sort them a transport out and they should be able to participate in the community activities. So it just depends what they need. Somebody may have all the good kind of support available, but they may have a poor mobility. So then you work on the improve their mobility, and then so they will not be able to say transfer to a wheelchair or walk. So improve their mobility so they can transfer to the car, and then somebody can drive them around. So it's all the factors. Somebody may not have a good social support, so these all factors need to be assessed, and if one of either is missing, that will have significant impact on people participation in the community. So if you think about the individual environmental factors, so there are some immediate environmental factors. That's our home. So see how our home is, our workplace. So we go to workplace. What is the environment like there? Do we have appropriate seating? Do we have appropriate environment in there? If you go to school, so the seats are available for us to sit in there, or how is the environment alike? And also we need physical and material. We need physical. We also need some physical and materials features of the environment. So say appropriate seating in there for us to sit on it, and also there are fans and all the facilities are available for us. And we also have a direct contact with the people in the environment. So see the people who are working in the environment, do we get on well with them, or there are somebody annoying us, or there always somebody who you don't get on well with. So that's directly direct people in the environment that can affect, and that people surrounds you, that will affect your mobility, because sometimes you don't go to a place where you have because you avoid some people. So that's why these are the factors which will kind of impact your environmental participation and needs. And there are some societal environmental factors. That's organizations and services related to work environment. So what services are available to you in the workplace, and it's also whether community activities are available. Is there any government agencies that provide helps to the people, like providing a transport or providing a funding? And it's also some communication. So how the communication system works, because you have a mobile phone, or you have any other mean of communication, so you can communicate with the people. So that the society provides all these facilities to the people with disabilities. And also there are transport services. So you may have seen that buses which will accommodate a wheelchair. So the buses have the ramp So if the person want to go out in a wheelchair, they can just even go in the bus as well. So these with the transportation services are available to you. Or also some social services internationally will provide the mobility scooters and the electric wheelchairs, so people can go out on the. So this is how you transport yourself actually, and what kind of support is available in the society. And also there are some laws about laws and regulation about disabled people, because disabled people have their rights. So they have employment right, and they have certain quota, so they need to be employed in their appropriate jobs. So what are the regulations in the society, whether people care for it or don't care for it. So that will affect the societal environmental factors. And also formal and informal rules. What are the rules for the disabled people? And also attitudes and ideologies. So what people think about disabled people, because nowadays they say you don't call them disabled people, you call them person with special needs, and now they change it and they say you call them special people. So actually it's just that attitude and ideology in the society for and a respect for a disabled person. So how do we accommodate them without making them annoying, and providing a respect to them? So that actually is another factor. Now I give you some example actually. So if somebody, say there are two patients, now we need to bring it to a real situation. Say there are two patients, Mrs. X and Mrs. Y, and both are 60 years old, fit and well before the stroke. So say they had a stroke, but they are 60 years of age, and before the stroke they were fit and well, and then they had a stroke, CVA 4 weeks ago. So they have middle cerebral artery stroke 4 weeks ago, and they both were discharged home after 3 weeks of hospital stay, and they've been left with a left-sided weakness, okay, and able to walk independently, but slower than before. So they're now able to walk, but they walk slowly than before because they have this stroke. So two patients with a similar age, with a similar kind of pathology, with a similar kind of disability are they having, and they were able to do housework before as well, and now they say a mild gross weakness in the left upper limb, but the right limb is quite okay, and a decreased fine motor function of the hand. So they live with their spouses, and they have a good social support. So now you can compare these two cases. They are with the same pathology, with the same age, and actually is more or less the same social support. So now we need to think about how do we fit them in the community. So these two people, communities, because pathologically they have the same pathology, but the environment they used to live in before and where they live and where they come from will have a big impact. So if you look at this example, say this is Mrs. X, and it's a one block kind of residence. So is there the house in here? So she living in here, and you see it's a one block. It's a street connectivity, and it's a walking distance. There is a church, so she can go to the church and she can participate, or mosque, or whatever you call it, or whatever. And then there is a post office on the same street, so she can go to the post office. She need to, and she can go to the shopping. There's a shop nearby. She can go to the shopping. There's a library very nearby, so she can go to the library if she want to, and there is a park as well very close by. And if she want to get somewhere to a relative house, or even go to the town center or whatever, then there is a bus stop very nearby to her house. It's not far, so you can see it's all available to her in a close kind of vicinity. So she can just move around, so she can just walk, like we talked about the street connectivity. So these are connected, so she can walk to a church, she can walk to a shop, she can bring the shopping bags, she can go to the park for a walking if she want to. She want to get her pension, she can go to the post office. She want to have a read through, to go to the library, and a bus. So all are on the walkable distance. So that doesn't restrict, because her environment is laid out in such a way, so it doesn't stop her participation in the community. So she can participate in the community because she was able to walk, but little slowly than before. So, but now she's still able to manage. And if she, with this kind of activity, if she go home after the hospital stay, and she continues this, so we are hoping she to get to normal very soon. Now you look at the other example, Mrs. Y, and if you look at her house, she's living 1 mile away. So you look at her house, she's living at least 1 mile away from the town center. And if you look at there is a grocery store in there, but it's only a minor kind of shop. It's a corner shop, so she can walk to the corner shop, but she can't get enough shopping even from there. So she will need to come to the town center for shopping, and there is a shop for shopping in here, and the park is quite far away from her house. If she want to get her pension, then the post office is quite far, and if you want to go to libraries, the library is not that near, and this is a town hall or town center, so that's also like a mile or more distance away from her house. And if you think about the other facility, she doesn't have any bus stop close by, so she even can't take a bus and go to the town center. The only thing she can do is she can walk to this shop, and then she can come back home. She can't walk that far after the stroke. She can't walk to the post office. So what now she is, her limitation in this environment will be that she will be only limited to this grocery shop, and that doesn't fulfill her needs. So then there's somebody will need to come, like say husband or daughter or son or whoever, or a relative, to drive her for all these facilities. And if you think about it, then how much they can take her around. So they may have take her only say once a week or twice a week for shopping, or take her to the car, or take her to the park in the car, or once a week maybe she goes to the post office. She may go once or twice a week to library. So you see, if you want to carry out all this activity, there's somebody need to be here in the house to drive her around. And do you think that is possible with this kind of layout? So it depends how their home is laying out in the community. So that area is a residential area. That's not with a commercial mix. If you look at the previous slide, the house is the street connectivity, and it's in the commercial area, so she can just walk around. And so Mrs. X mobility will obviously be better, and her community participation, because she can just go whenever she like. But here the scenario is quite different actually, and that is the difficult scenario. So that's how the community layout will impact on people participation and physical rehabilitation. So the more they go out, the more they walk, they have an activity, they have a better rehabilitation here as compared to here, because here she will be limiting and she will need quite a lot of support. So I hope you understand that. Now we need to talk about the community-based rehabilitation. So what the community-based rehabilitation is. So actually they say it's a strategy that's for the community development rehabilitation program. So if you develop a community development program, that's called community rehabilitation. And it's also equalization of the opportunities. So all disabled people in the community will have equal opportunities available to them. So they go to the shop, or they have a transport or whatever, so they should have equal opportunities. And also social integration of all people with disabilities. So they should have a social integration. So this strategy we define for to integrate the people, to give them equal opportunities, and to develop a community rehabilitation program for them. So that's what community-based rehabilitation is. And how community-based rehabilitation is implemented. So actually it's implemented through the combined effort. So it's not like responsibility of one person. to implement this rehabilitation program. So it starts from the disabled person. So the disabled person need to be motivated, and they need the disabled person need to think that they are going to be a role model for other disabled people. So they need to be very motivated and be happy to take part in the community rehabilitation program. So if they are not motivated, it doesn't matter what you do. If they don't get out of the house and they're not ready, then you can't force them out actually, because they are human rights. So it's actually they need to be motivated, and they need to be strong mind, okay, mind over body here. And also it's their families and communities. So the communities need to be welcomed to have these disabled people, and their families should participate and encourage them. So they should do all the counseling. If somebody is not willing to take part in the rehabilitation program, a disabled person, then the family support need to be available to them, because there might be some transport problems, or there might be some other factors. So the family support, there may be some stress level. So if the family members come along and help them, so they need to be involved in the implementation. And also importantly, the health services. The health services are a very important part, because if you don't have a health service in the area, then it's difficult to carry out a community health program, because in the health services you need the medical doctors. If the person is a bit sick, or if the person is having a bit of pain in their limbs after the rehabilitation or after moving around, so there will be health professionals need to be available there, the medical doctors and the physiotherapist and the speech therapist, or all the and the rehab nurse need to be available. So all this multidisciplinary team, the health services need to be available. And also there need to be some education services for the patients. So patients or the handicapped people who need some education, then in the community they should be provided with some education on their needs. And in the next slides we will discuss about the community-based rehabilitation metrics. So we will describe this in details. And also there's some vocational services. So say if somebody need to go to work, or say somebody have a good IT skills, and they have lost their limbs, they have a paraplegia, and they can sit on a chair and then they can do a desk job. So they need to be trained for that, and they can carry out an employment. So there should be vocational training for these people. And also there should be a social services available to them, so a good social support. So they need to be helped when they need to, and the social services are the very important part of this program, and they need to be implemented. This is the community-based rehabilitation metrics from the WHO perspective, and actually it has 5 domains. The first one is the health domain, and they say you should always work on the health promotion, prevention, medical care, rehabilitation, and they should have an access to assistive devices. So if they need like a wheelchair or a walking stick. And also if you think about the rehabilitation, they need to have all the rehabilitation professionals like physiotherapists and occupational therapists, speech therapists, depend on their need. And also they need a medical care, they need a surgery, or they have a medical problem, so they need the team need to be available to help them. And so also we encourage them to take part in the promotion of the health, and also the prevention. So if you stop the prevention, and also there are some people, disabled people, who are at further risk of further diseases. So individually we need to work on the prevention as well, and also promotion of good health. So it's all about the health domains. So you see whichever domain is missing in this one, we will identify them in our assessment, and then we will work on them, and hopefully we will fill that gap in. It's either the education. The education is the early childhood education. So you will see a lot of children, they have some problem in their learning disabilities, or so they will need a very good early childhood schooling. It's from the primary level to a secondary and a higher education, non-formal and lifelong learning. So they need to be involved in education. So we need to encourage them to have their education. They can go to the school. If they can't go to normal school, there are special schools they can go to, and they should be educated. And livelihood, so they need a skill development. So say some adults, they can go to WorkBridge, and they need to just learn some skills, like vocational skills we have talked about in the previous, and they can take some self-employment, and they can just do some wage employment, they can be employed, they can manage their financial services, and they should have a social protection as well. So it's like developing their skills, make them ready for employment depending on their level. So each and every individual will have a different kind of problem, and we need to be able to assess what the individual needs are, whether the person will be able to take a wage employment, how is their cognitive level, can we develop their skills. So these all things need to be looked at. And also a social domain, so the personal assistance is available to them if they need it to relationships and marriage and family, so that if they can live a normal life. So actually it's bringing people back to normal life. That's very simple, I can say to you. That's bringing people back to a normal life is what rehabilitation is, and should be able to participate in culture and arts activities, recreational, leisure, sports, and just they have access to a justice system. So actually, what does it mean? It is this matrix that they are a part of the whole normal. They should be part of whole normal community, and employment, education, communication, community mobilization. They should have a political participation. Self-help groups, they can go to the self-help groups and disabled people organization. There are many organizations who provides help for disabled people. So all these domains need to be worked at. So basically, what does it mean that if you think about all these slides from here, what does it mean is it's very simple, that we can just make them able to be integrating in the society. We need to identify their needs, and we need to encourage them to be able to participate in their daily life activities, and whichever component is missing here, actually we rehab them to achieve that level. So it's different patients' achievement and levels will be different. If we think about the components of the community-based rehabilitation programs, just creating a positive attitude towards people with disabilities. So we need to be positive, and we need to encourage people. We need to call them with appropriate names, and we need to respect them. So it's working in the community and educate people, be positive, and create a positive attitude towards people with disabilities. And the provision of functional rehabilitation services. So we should provide them with the functional rehabilitation services, that is medical services, nursing services, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, whatever. So they should have all these rehabilitation services. We should provide them with the provision of education and training opportunities. So they should have access to education and the training opportunities they need to. The creation of micro and macro income generation opportunities. So say we can just include them, so they can just go to work with their disability, or if they can be rehabbed to go to a work. So there should be some thinking about how they can be socially, socio-economically viable and be a vibrant member in the society. And also provision of care facilities. So we need to be able to provide a lot of care facilities for these individuals who are disabled. So say they have some institutionalized care homes for them, just to rehab them in there and integrate them back into their communities. And prevention of causes of disability. So say somebody is at more risk of further disabilities. So we need, like say, if somebody have a joint contracture, and we think that contracture is going to be fixed, so we can give them some exercises and also prevent them from further disabilities. So actually it's just thinking about a wide spectrum. And management, monitoring, and evaluation. So we can manage them in the community, we can monitor them so they don't get any worse, and we can evaluate them, and we see if they improved, we progress them to a next level. So say if somebody is transferring to a wheelchair, we can just stand them up, do a standing practice. If somebody can stand, then we can do a walking practice and just rehab them. So you just keep managing them, monitoring and evaluation all the time, and progress them accordingly. So implementation of community-based rehabilitation, who is responsible? The people with disabilities. Okay, so they should take part. Families of the people with disabilities, like we had talked before, they should take part. All the communities should be responsible to encourage the activities, and we also need some governmental, that's local, regional and national government support. So there should be some support from the government, like say in terms of the funding, so they should provide us support for people with disability, and the different in different countries they have a different sort of budgets for these clients. And it's also non-governmental organizations, that's local, regional, national and international organizations. They also need to look for some organizations who will provide support to people with disabilities. So there are some international organizations who then help the government establishing the care facilities and the rehab facilities in the community for the disabled peoples, where they provide training opportunities, some funding, and just to train human resource, and just to create the opportunities for people with disabilities. So they can help these organizations, you can ask them. And the medical professionals and allied health professionals, they should come and play a role. Educators, social scientists and other professionals all have the responsibility to implement the community-based rehabilitation program. And also we need the private sector. So the private sector is the businesses and the industry. So they should create opportunities for people with disabilities, so they can create job opportunities, and sometimes they can just provide the funding for these people. So the private sector should be active part of this program. And coming to end, this is the summary. So the appropriate environment in the community will enhance the rehabilitation process. Person with disability and all members of the community shall play a role in the process. So let's say it's a multi-dimensional approach. Healthcare professionals may need to adopt an individual approach according to the patient. So there are different people, so we have discussed different dimensions, and the health professional should be looking for individual needs of the patients, to have careful assessment and see which patients need what kind of care, and provide that care to integrate them into the community. These are the references you can have a look into, and if you have any questions, you can just inbox me and I will answer to it. Thank you very much.